Have you noticed something strange? Walk into almost any coffee shop, bookstore, shopping mall, or even a social event, and you'll see something that would have been almost unthinkable 20 years ago. Men glance at women and then quickly look away. They hesitate, they second guess themselves, and more often than not, they never make a move. But why? Most people immediately blame dating apps, social media, or changing times. And while those factors play a role, they barely scratch the surface. The real reason is much deeper and far more psychological than most men ever realize. In fact, what you're about to hear may completely change how you see modern dating. Because here's the uncomfortable truth. It's not that men suddenly forgot how to be confident, it's that millions of men have quietly learned something that changed the way they think about approaching women forever. Most men never realize this. Confidence doesn't disappear overnight. It slowly erodes after repeated experiences that teach your brain one powerful lesson. The risk isn't worth the reward. Think about it. A man approaches one woman. She ignores him. He approaches another. She barely makes eye contact. A third gives a polite smile before walking away. None of these moments seem devastating on their own. But your brain doesn't measure experiences individually. It measures patterns. And once your mind begins seeing rejection as the expected outcome instead of the exception, something remarkable happens. You stop trying before you even begin. This isn't weakness, this is psychology. Your brain is designed to protect you from emotional pain just as much as physical pain. Every awkward interaction becomes another piece of evidence stored in your subconscious. Eventually, hesitation feels safer than action. But here's where it gets interesting. Many women notice that men aren't approaching anymore. Some even complain about it. They ask, "Where have all the confident men gone?" What many don't realize is that both men and women are reacting to the exact same cultural changes, but from completely different perspectives. This creates a misunderstanding that neither side fully recognizes, and that's where the real mystery begins. Because the biggest reason men hesitate today isn't simply fear of rejection. It's something much more subtle, something invisible that affects nearly every interaction before a single word is even spoken. Pay close attention because this changes everything. By the end of this video, you'll understand why this silent shift happened, why so many men feel stuck without realizing it, and what separates the few men who still confidently approach women from everyone else. But before we uncover that hidden psychological force, you first need to understand one surprising mistake almost every man makes the moment he notices an attractive woman. So, what is the mistake that silently kills a man's confidence before he ever says hello? It starts with something almost invisible. The moment you notice an attractive woman, your brain doesn't simply see another person, it instantly begins creating a story. Within seconds, thoughts race through your mind. She's probably out of my league. She must get approached all the time. She'll think I'm bothering her. I'll probably embarrass myself. Notice something? None of these thoughts are facts, they're predictions, and your brain treats those predictions as if they've already happened. This is known in psychology as anticipatory anxiety, the tendency to experience the emotional pain of rejection before rejection ever occurs. Your mind tries to protect you by convincing you not to take the risk at all. Most men never realize this. The conversation rarely ends before it begins. It never begins in the first place. That's why so many men appear confident in every other area of life. They can negotiate business deals, lead teams, solve complex problems, and make difficult decisions. Yet when an attractive woman walks into the room, everything changes, not because she's intimidating, but because attraction activates one of the deepest human fears, social rejection. But here's where it gets interesting. Women often interpret this silence very differently. Imagine a woman who spends an evening at a social gathering. She notices several men glance at her throughout the night. No one approaches. From her perspective, she may wonder, maybe no one finds me attractive. Meanwhile, several men in that very room are thinking, she's beautiful. There's no chance she'd be interested in me. Both sides are making assumptions. Both sides are wrong. This psychological disconnect has become increasingly common, creating a strange dating environment where mutual attraction exists, but neither person acts on it. And then there's another powerful force that almost no one talks about: social media. Years ago, most people compared themselves to those they met in everyday life. Today, many men spend hours seeing carefully edited photos, luxury lifestyles, and seemingly perfect couples online. Without realizing it, their brains begin raising the standard of what they believe women expect. Over time, ordinary men start believing they must be wealthier, taller, funnier, more successful, or more physically attractive before they deserve to approach. The irony? Many women aren't expecting perfection, but many men believe they are, and belief shapes behavior far more than reality does. Pay close attention because this changes everything. The men who still approach women consistently aren't necessarily the most attractive or the richest. They're often the ones who have learned to separate reality from the stories their minds create. But that's only part of the picture, because there's another psychological shift happening beneath the surface, one that has quietly changed how many women respond to attention and how men interpret those responses. Once you understand that hidden dynamic, you'll see modern dating in a completely different way. Now, we're getting to the part that most conversations about dating completely ignore. The biggest misunderstanding isn't that men are afraid, and it isn't that women have become impossible to approach. The real issue is that both men and women are reading the same situation through completely different emotional filters. Most men never realize this. A woman's first reaction isn't always about whether she finds you attractive. It's often about whether she feels comfortable, safe, and emotionally at ease in that moment. Think about two different scenarios. In the first, a woman is rushing to work, wearing headphones, mentally focused on her day. A man approaches her with confidence, but she gives a short answer and keeps walking. Many men immediately conclude, "She rejected me because I'm not attractive enough." But was that really the reason? Maybe she was late, maybe she had a stressful morning, maybe she simply wasn't in the mood to talk to anyone. Her response may have had very little to do with the man himself, yet the brain loves simple explanations. It connects one unpleasant experience to your entire identity. Instead of thinking, "Oh, that wasn't the right moment," many men think, "I'm not the kind of man women want." And that's where confidence quietly begins to disappear. But here's where it gets interesting. Women are also making quick psychological judgments. Before attraction has a chance to grow, they're unconsciously asking questions like, does this person seem calm? Does he respect personal space? Does he seem emotionally secure? Does this interaction feel natural or forced? Notice what's missing. They're not instantly calculating whether a man is perfect. They're reading emotional signals. People often remember how someone made them feel long before they remember exactly what was said. This explains why two men can say almost the same words, but receive completely different reactions. One appears relaxed, comfortable, and genuine. The other seems desperate for approval, overly rehearsed, or afraid of silence. The difference isn't always the words. It's the emotional energy behind them. What happens next may surprise you. Many men believe attraction is created by saying the right line. In reality, trying too hard to impress someone often creates the very tension you're hoping to avoid. People naturally respond better to authenticity than performance. When every sentence is designed to win validation, the interaction stops feeling human. And women, just like men, are remarkably good at sensing that difference. This is why some average-looking men consistently build strong relationships while others who appear more attractive struggle. Confidence isn't about pretending to be fearless, it's about becoming comfortable with uncertainty. There's another layer to this psychology that almost nobody discusses. The men who seem naturally attractive have one habit that completely changes the emotional atmosphere of every interaction, and it has almost nothing to do with looks, money, or status. Here's the secret that many men spend years searching for, yet it's hiding in plain sight. The men who naturally attract attention usually aren't chasing approval, they're offering presence. That may sound simple, but psychologically, it's one of the biggest differences between confidence and insecurity. Most men never realize this. When your primary goal is to get a positive reaction from a woman, you unconsciously hand over your emotional control. Suddenly, her smile determines your confidence. Her response determines your mood. Her opinion determines your self-worth. That's an enormous amount of pressure to place on a complete stranger. Now imagine a different man. He walks over because he's curious, not desperate. He's relaxed because he's not trying to prove anything. If the conversation flows, great. If it doesn't, he respectfully moves on without questioning his value. Can you see the difference? One man is seeking validation. The other is simply creating an opportunity for connection. Women often pick up on that distinction far more quickly than men realize. But here's where it gets interesting. People are naturally drawn to emotional stability. When someone appears comfortable with themselves, they create a sense of ease for everyone around them. This isn't manipulation, it's emotional contagion. Human emotions are surprisingly contagious. Calmness spreads, anxiety spreads too. That's why a man who is centered and present often makes conversations feel effortless, while someone consumed by self-doubt can unintentionally create tension, even with good intentions. Think about the people you've enjoyed talking to most. Were they trying to impress you every second? Probably not. They listened, they smiled naturally, they weren't afraid of short pauses, they made the interaction feel real. The same principle applies to attraction. Confidence isn't about having the perfect joke or memorizing clever lines. It's about being fully present instead of constantly evaluating yourself. What happens next may surprise you. Many men believe rejection destroys confidence. In reality, it's avoidance that slowly does the damage. Every time you avoid an opportunity because of fear, your brain quietly reinforces the belief that the situation was dangerous. Months become years. Eventually, approaching women feels almost impossible, not because you've become less capable, but because your comfort zone has become smaller. The good news? The opposite is also true. Every respectful conversation, every small social interaction, every moment you step outside your comfort zone teaches your brain a new lesson. I can handle this. That's how genuine confidence is built, not overnight, but one experience at a time. And now we've arrived at the most important lesson of all, because the real reason men don't approach women anymore isn't what most people think. It's deeper than rejection. It's deeper than dating apps. It's even deeper than confidence. So, why don't men approach women anymore? After everything we've uncovered, the answer becomes much clearer. It's not because men have suddenly become less masculine, it's not because women have become impossible to understand, and it's certainly not because attraction has disappeared. The real reason is that modern psychology has quietly changed the way people interpret risk, rejection, and connection. Men today are exposed to more comparison, more opinions, more public criticism, and more unrealistic expectations than ever before. At the same time, women are navigating concerns about safety, boundaries, and unwanted attention in ways previous generations didn't experience to the same extent. The result? Two people may be interested in each other, yet both remain silent. One fears rejection, the other assumes disinterest, and a potential relationship never has the chance to begin. Most men never realize this. The greatest obstacle isn't the woman standing in front of you. It's the conversation happening inside your own mind. Your internal dialogue shapes your reality long before your actions ever do. If you constantly tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," your body begins to act as though it's true. You avoid eye contact. You hesitate. You overthink every word. Ironically, these behaviors often create the very outcome you were trying to avoid. But here's where everything changes. Confidence isn't something you're born with, it's something you build, and it starts with changing your objective. Instead of asking yourself, "Will she like me?" ask, "Will we enjoy this conversation?" That single shift changes your entire mindset. You're no longer trying to win approval, you're simply discovering whether there's mutual interest. That's a far healthier and far more confident approach. What happens next may surprise you. The men who consistently build meaningful relationships aren't the ones who never hear no. They're the ones who don't allow one no to define who they are. They understand that attraction is deeply personal. One woman may not feel a connection. Another might appreciate the exact qualities someone else overlooked. That's not failure, that's compatibility. Pay close attention because this changes everything. Real confidence isn't walking into every conversation believing you'll succeed. It's walking into every conversation knowing you'll be okay, regardless of the outcome. When you stop measuring your value by someone else's reaction, something remarkable happens. You become more relaxed, more authentic, more present, and those qualities are naturally attractive not because they're tricks, but because they reflect genuine emotional security. So if you've been wondering why men don't approach women anymore, remember this. The world has changed. Dating has changed. Social expectations have changed, but one truth remains constant. People are still searching for someone who makes them feel understood, respected, and emotionally safe. Be that person. Focus on becoming the best version of yourself, not to impress others, but because it improves every area of your life. Approach people with curiosity instead of fear. Accept that not every interaction will lead somewhere. And remember that every conversation is an opportunity to grow, regardless of the outcome. Because in the end, the strongest man in the room isn't the loudest. It's the one who isn't afraid to be genuine. If you enjoyed this video and want more insights into female psychology, attraction, confidence, and modern relationships, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next upload. And now tell me in the comments, do you think men have stopped approaching women because of fear of rejection, changing society, or something else entirely? I'd love to hear your perspective, and your answer might help someone else understand the psychology behind this silent shift.